Hi everybody, Larry here again. Welcome to South Olympic Branch update number 83. Hope things have been going well for you. Let me show you what I've been up to. In episode 82, I spent a lot of time ballasting this spur and the main lines through here. I've continued doing that a little bit today, and I've also planted, another tree over here. That's a Grand Central gym that's on the far side of another Grand Central gym, but one's a pine and one's, I can't remember what the other one is. Anyway, there you have it. So that just continues, and as the gravel road here out to the place where the yard goats sit is getting closer and closer to the turntable over there. Okay, I put some Eileen's tacky glue on that, and I'll just let that set up, and we'll see how that looks in a little bit. So I had a little block like that was tying those two pieces in front together and over this window, and I'm like, that's just not strong enough. And I hadn't figured out what I was going to do, and then of course today it hit me like a freight train, haha. And I thought, duh, since I had to take this piece down anyway to nip the end off of it so that I could put another piece in the in kind of the corner area up there. You'll see what I'm talking about in a little bit. I took it out. I took out that little piece that was up there against this bracket, and then put a whole piece of 3/4 all the way across so I can button those two together, and that'll make it a lot stiffer. Okay, so there's this little corner lip over here, of course, so I tied one in there. I know since I worked on this place, I know there's like 2x6s behind that. So anyway, and if that don't hold it, forget about it. Anyway, then it's tied to this 2x2, or it will be, and then this 2x2 will be tied to the deck down here, which is supported by in a couple of places. You see those 1x4s over there. So that should, then we can, the frontal piece that is the 3/4 inch plywood can go across this way and be screwed into the end of that. And that's what I'm looking to do. So I don't think that'll get done today, but like I said, I just had this flash and I'm like, oh, that's what I want to do. You can see that gap there. This is one of those times when having one more person for about a minute and a half would be really handy. So I recently got some of this mini nature silver from Scenery Express. I'm going to say this, hashtag not sponsored. Anyway, and I was looking at this stuff, and it comes in a square sheet, and it's like, okay, what am I going to do with this stuff? Because it doesn't look like, it doesn't at first look really very useful. It's kind of it almost looks like a furnace filter, or like a scrubbing sponge material. That's what it looks like. Get that in the camera. Anyway, but I started finding that if I pulled it apart, and I could actually kind of pull it apart and then actually squeeze it and smash some of it down, and I would end up with more irregularities, and it would look more realistic. And so I got it in this area over here, and then I decided I was going to take the Woodland Scenics foam and kind of fill in. So just like I've shown you guys recently with the ballast, I just kind of paint the ground here, and make sure we got some good glue coating. That's not a word. At least I don't think it is. I'll have to look that up in the dictionary later. Anyway, got that there now, and then just take some of my scenery mix and dump it on there. And probably block in the camera, but what are we gonna do? Anyway. And I'm just gonna let it build up against the material down below. Now, I bump the camera so it's not pointing at the right thing here. And then take my little spoon with my fine material here. Got a good shot of that for a second. And let's just tap some of that over that, kind of fill in some of that area that the bigger stuff didn't get. And I need a different color. So we're gonna go with some fine turf earth, T42 from Woodland Scenics. Again, not sponsored. And just kind of that over there. And I'm going to stop the camera while I get over there and get a little bit better reach. So this looks very wet right now and not very good. So we'll see in the morning, I think, or maybe later tonight, depending on how late I stay up, just how it looks when it dries. Thought I'd just show you this. I just dabbed some of the Eileens or Aileens on the back of this piece. Get it back in the spot where I had it before and work this back in there. Smash it in place. Just kind of like, I think this piece right here is probably going to move as I do this. That's okay. I'll just push it back as glue dries. And then, let's see if I can zoom in on that. Oops. Get my camera up here a little bit more. Let's see, a little bit more glue on this. And then, there we go. Now the idea here is, I think this is going to look like kind of a wetland. I don't know that I'm going to put any visible like water product in there. I think I'm just going to make it look like extra weedy. And I think I'm going to make it look, come down this way and kind of work its way over next to the track. Back up here a little bit to where it'll kind of disappear behind the rock face over here and maybe look like it might be draining into something. We'll see. We'll see. I may have to switch products because I don't know if I'm going to have enough of that. This was a sampler, so it's got some different colors and such on it. I may have to buy some more of that after first looking at it and going, you know, I'm not sure I like that very much.
Oh, that one works.
At the Great Train Expo in Puyallup, Washington, we're watching Steve run his Santa Fe Jeep 7. This Jeep 7 is a lifelike model that Steve added DCC and sound to some years ago. The Great Train Expo is one of those shows I enjoy going to every year. And another one of my favorites is coming up at the end of next month. That would be the United Northwest show that's in Monroe.
Okay, cool. module is part of our Stampede Curves Fremo set. Originally, I had built the bridge, but the track had gotten messed up and had been replaced. And recently, Andy went and rebuilt the bridge and put new track on the module. I think it looks pretty good now. Might need some weathering though. And there goes Herb's Athearn Genesis Jeep 40s. I discovered I didn't actually bring any motive power to the show. Well, Andy already had a full train sitting on the track, so I asked permission and just ran his for the video. I wish I could have got the focus to work better because this little trackmobile is really cool. It started out as a fairly simple model, but a guy by the name of Nolan did a custom decoder and speaker install on it. So it was really a lot of work, he said, and isn't looking forward to doing it again, it sounds like. Richard was running one of his Pensy steamers. I don't know which one, but I'm sure it's Broadway Limited. Pretty sure this Tacoma Rail engine is an Atlas genset. I suppose I could ask Mike. Pretending to pace Fred's scale train's turbine, and just, you know, that's why you see the camera moving so much, because I'm walking either sideways or backwards. This was near the end of the show, so the crowds had actually thinned out quite a bit. Alex apparently didn't have any rolling stock to pull behind his Union Pacific big boy here, so instead he borrowed some of Steve's cars. I've been taking little parts of this hecky wild grass and mounting it on here to that. In person, I think this looks really sharp. And I've got this right here, which I did the same thing. It's got some glue on top of it that's drying because I decided to see what it would look like if I sprinkled some of the fine ground Woodland Scenics mixture that I made up on there. This is the package for the Hecky Wildgrass, number 1576, and hashtag not sponsored, as people like to say. And then this is what it kind of looks like when it comes out of the package. It's a static grass that's kind of stuck together. Like I said, I bought some a long time ago. Didn't have a use for it, but just now I was looking at it and I went, you know what? I wonder if I could do that. And like I said, I like the little piece. I just take my scissors, cut off a little piece of it in a random shape, and then I can stretch it out, tease it a little bit, kind of like I was doing with the stuff on the other side earlier. I'm really liking that Hecky Wildgrass. The color is flatter than than some of the static grass I've used here, which I'm pretty sure is also made by Hecky or not. Well, actually, it might be Nock. But anyway, I like the color. I like the color variation. I like the fact that for a small spot, I don't have to use my my static applicator, so it's kind of handy. It really like the way that looks. I've added a little bit over here along the edge too, and I think I'm probably going to end up doing some more of that. I wanted to work on a little add-on landform, and which isn't part of this. So I cut this piece of foam with my hot knife, and then I'm going to paint that like brown, kind of like that over there is. But this is just blue taped to this temporarily to hold it while I'm painting it. Okay, I did a coat of raw sienna and then switched over to some burnt umber to give it a little bit of a mix. So after the paint dried, I glued this to the area here with the Eileens, of course, and then spread some Eileens over the top of it and sprinkled some of my ground foam mixture and some soil fine turf as well over that. And then when that's kind of settled in and everything, I'll probably come back with some static grass or something like that over the top of it. Okay, I drizzled down some Woodland Scenic cement, put in some Nock grass into the Grassmaster, and then went over, as I talked about earlier, the mound that I made out of the styrofoam. And then, went to town with the grass, the static grass. Then this tree, which is by Hecky, I don't think these look, I don't know, it's a nice tree variety. It's not going to take the place of me making my trees from super trees, but it does add another dimension to the grouping. So, and I think this looks really good. Let's skip over and take a look at it from the perspective of the bridge here. Okay, focusing over there, I think that'll make a nice backdrop for when that train comes around the corner. The scenic cement should be pretty dry by now, so I'm just going to go over this one more time with the hosiery covered vacuum in here, and you'll see in just a few moments how much stuff I picked up with it. Then I'll just knock the blob off into a tray and reuse it later. Okay, I drizzled down some Woodland Scenic cement, put in some Nock grass into the Grassmaster, and then went over, as I talked about earlier, the mound that I made out of the styrofoam. And then, went to town with the grass, the static grass. Then this tree, which is by Hecky, I don't think these look, I don't know, it's a nice tree variety. It's not going to take the place of me making my trees from super trees, but it does add another dimension to the grouping. So, and I think this looks really good. Let's skip over and take a look at it from the perspective of the bridge here. Okay, focusing over there, I think that'll make a nice backdrop for when that train comes around the corner.
I found out I could get a backdrop that was almost 10 feet long, and I wanted this one to be taller. I wanted it to be 18 inches. So I resized the photograph and sent it back to the printer. This way it could go all the way to the door, and that allows me to get a better background for when I'm looking down through the bridge too. I added more static grass in here, and I also did something with the base of this hecky tree. I don't know if you guys can see. Let me zoom in on that. So you really can't tell right there, but I'm going to compare it to one of the ones I haven't done this to, because the bottom of the tree was really shiny. Okay, this is what they look like out of the box. And so, you know, that's just not realistic at all. So I put some glue on it and sprinkled some ground foam over it to once again get it to look more like, you know, more flat. Time to make some more ballast. And for me, I discovered that using this Norpro 6-inch strainer that has a certain kind of screen to it, and this Live Fresh strainer that's probably about 7 or 8 inches, has a finer screen to it, are the two screens that I need to use to get to the ballast that I want for my HO scale railroad. And so I'll just show you quickly what that looks like. Okay, so over here I have what started out as a 50-pound bag of paving sand. I'll put that in there and shake. Yeah, a few seconds. I'm gonna have that. Now I do this in the garage because this first round especially, or this creates a lot of dust, and I don't really want that in my train room. So then I dump that into a smaller container, which I then transfer to an even smaller one. I do this because it's just easier to transfer. Now I could use that for bigger rocks and stuff on the layout. Sometimes I do. I usually end up with a lot more of that than I actually want. So, time for round 2. So then I take this, which is just really fine and has some kind of the medium stuff I want. Right? So I take that, dump that into there. That makes it so that this can be more easily transferred into the next screen. The Live Fresh one. I'm just dump that in there. And immediately some of the smaller stuff just falls right in. Right? And I'm going to lift this up so you guys can see a little closer. And this just shifting through. You can see there's some like random piece of stuff that ended up in there somewhere, and I'll just shake it around like that. Now, as I do this, I'm going to shift what's in the screen container over. And the reason I do this is when I shake some more, if you guys can see that in the video, there's some size of stuff in there. There's still some fine stuff in there. And so I don't want to stop screening yet. I'm going to move that off to the side. There's still some fine stuff there. And I'm starting to get to the point where I'm done with this round. Yeah. You'll know, you'll soon, if you do this, you'll just kind of realize where you want to stop. And let's get rid of the garbage. And then I can take my resulting stuff, and this will be my ballast. I need to get rid of that stuff in there. Okay,
So the really fine stuff I end up with, this is good for like parking lots, sides of roads, and things like that. I think I talked about that just in a video or two ago. It might have been episode 81 or 82. Anyway, but I end up with a lot more of this than I need. So, it also makes a fine fill for the hole in my 50-year-old driveway. Okay. So, I may have said recently, as a matter of fact, I'm pretty sure I did, that I had seen a end of train light by Bachmann, and I wanted it in another end of train light, but Ring Engineering no longer seems to make theirs. So it was, I'd ordered one, but when I saw it online, and then I found that the silly thing has a different size of bolster. So one of my friends he's designing a test one, which I haven't got yet. But in the meantime, I discovered for about $10 more than their end of train light, that they had a box car they were selling that actually had that on it. Now, never been a huge fan of Bachmann stuff. It tends to be a little too cheap looking for me usually. Not very well detailed. But I thought, for 35 bucks, I'll give this a try. We'll see what that looks like. So I'm going to get out this Burrlington Northern boxcar. Just happened to be one of the ones they had with the EOT on it. And there's the end of train line. Let's see how that looks. They said that much like the old Ring Engineering one, that all you had to do was put it on either DC or DCC track and it would be good to go. And I think you guys can see it's flashing. Awesome. That's not bad. Not bad at all. I'll have to try running that around behind a train here in a little bit. Recently, I got to operate on Burr Stewarts Layout again. Burr has a 1973 Burlington Northern HO scale layout that is in a basement that's something like 28 by 31. And it's just a delight to operate with Burr. And, I'd like to produce more video of that, but it's hard to operate and take video at the same time. In this video, I'm mostly shoving cars around the Argo yard. You can catch more of Burr's video if you search for @MuchFunWithTrains on YouTube. Here I'm using BN number 165, which is a Rapido model with a really cool beacon. I have one of these as well, and I'm shoving some covered hoppers into the Lone Star cement plant. I'd like to thank everybody once again for joining me for episode 83 of my South Olympic Branch Update series. Hope you enjoyed all the train running and model building and all of that, and we'll talk again soon. Take care.
Well, you could.